Hello all, this is Nipperss. Hey, we're getting ready to start the Ironman Season 7 series. And, so yeah, I'm quite excited about this. I am officially participating this time. And so, this is the seed we're going with, that Captain Adonis set up. And this time we're doing it on Omicron, and we're doing hard settings. So this is a bit different. Always before in the past it's been on medium settings, and so this is going to be quite challenging. In fact, when I found out about this on Saturday morning, I actually had to play some extra rounds or some random seeds on hard mode just to get an idea of how to even play on hard mode, which I hadn't done in like a year. Mostly because I sucked at it, because I only did it for like a week before I gave up on it. So this Saturday I had to try some different playing around with it to see if there was a way I could do it and survive. And I'm glad I did, because I died several times using those random seeds. So I kind of come up with a strategy to kind of do this. So hopefully this works. And here we go. Now the audio recording I'm doing for this is going to be a bit different, because I'm actually recording the audio after the fact. So looks like a lake off to the north or west, and so that's going to be my goal for shooting towards. So like I said, because I was needing to hurry up and get on with playing this game, I had to do it when family and everybody else was around. So my computer's kind of set up in the main living area. I don't have a quiet place to play, so I had to do all my recording with noisy kids around. So the next episodes after this first week should be better, because I'll actually have some actual time where kids and stuff won't be around. So, and my wife had to actually be gone for work this week, so this actually kind of worked out, because to get set up for the first weekly mission by Wednesday, because I didn't start playing the actual Ironman seed until Sunday afternoon. So I had to play like 13 hours to get myself set up to a place where I felt confident that I could take on the first base without dying. So, getting weapons loaded up here. I decided to blow the core in this thing, for better or for worse. Because the patrol vessel always comes by to the starter house and just blows the living crap out of it. And I wasn't sure if I was going to need this place later. So I blew the core on it so that the PV vessel would actually ignore it. Because if there's no core in it, it fly over the top of it and it just ignores it. It's only when there's a core in it it'll actually blow the living crap out of it. So, like I said, not sure if I was going to need that later. I went ahead and blew the core myself. My next strategy was to grab as many items as quickly as I can, kind of on my way to water. Oxygen and food on hard mode is an extreme bear to kind of deal with, especially on Omicron for whatever reason. So my strategy ended up being, in order to survive, to get to water and basically start submerged. which I was quite happy to see a pretty decent sized body of water just to the north of me when I landed. So picking stuff is going to be the quickest way to gain XP. I end up having to walk down there anyway. Another thing I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can is if you're standing still, you don't consume as much food and oxygen as opposed to when you're walking around. If you try and sprint, you're going to use up food and oxygen at an even greater rate. I found in my experimental playthroughs on Saturday that the oxygen generator on hard mode only generates enough oxygen to keep you going if you're just standing there. I think some of that might have to do with the construction speed, which is set to the lowest setting for this hard mode. So one of the key components to my survivability was to get 2 water generators set up just as soon as I possibly could. That's like right up there in the top things to get done. So I try to grab as many resources as I possibly can on my way there, so that I at least have materials to make everything I can possibly think of that I would need. And I opted for 2 water generators just to increase kind of the throughput, because you can approach it 2 different ways. You can go conservative on energy consumption, or you can go conservative on time. So you can just power 1 machine and take more time to generate it, or you can go 2 machines, spend twice the amount of energy, but have your water in half the time. And where time is such an issue with trying to keep up with the oxygen supply, I opted with a strategy for going with two water generators. And later on it seemed to have really paid off. And I am just picking everything I possibly can to get as much XP as possible, as quickly as possible. Because that was the other thing with hard mode. Leveling up is extremely painfully slow. And as you could probably kind of tell if you're looking at my oxygen level, I'm actually lingering a bit longer than I probably should. Because that water is just a ways off. So I'm trying to be productive and pick as much as I possibly can, because I know that once the bad critters come out, I'm going to have a hard time getting any of this stuff. At least until I get an HV built. But once I get an HV built, things are probably going to change up quite a bit. that was the other problem with this planet. It gets really hot. And being on hard mode, we didn't even get given medium armor, which would have really helped. Instead, we've got light armor, which does not do very good with the heat or extreme cold. And not much in the way of radiation protection either. Now, I haven't run across radiated fog, but if I remember correctly, that is a possibility on Omicron. So, that was kind of my other reason for choosing to go with starting underwater, is being in the water that basically negates extreme temperatures and protects you from the radiation, so you don't have to deal with it. The trade-off is moving around is extremely slow. But in starting off, I'm really hoping there's going to be enough resources to at least get me going and get me started, so that I can at least get up to level 5. I'm trying to use my jetpack to kind of save on the walking, because now I've only got 2 oxygen tanks left, and I got a little ways to go, and I've got to have some time for the oxygen generator to even work. Trying to pick as much corn and stuff as I can possibly get, because I don't have any idea if there's going to be seaweed down here, or if there's going to be a little bit of seaweed and not enough. I think I was contemplating putting down the oxygen generator just right here close to the water's edge, but I opted against it. Come across too many arachnids that hang out at the coast. So yeah, immediately my temperature drops, even though it's 113 degrees. And opting to go ahead and grab some wood before I start living underwater, essentially. Because I know I'm going to need to be able to make ammunition later. And there goes the last of my oxygen. So right off, I'm noticing we got rocks under here, which is a good sign. And there's more than one. So this is where I opt to set up. Use biofuel to power it up for the time being. I believe that gets me going for 15 minutes anyway. So I'm getting a little frantic here. I need to get those water generators up and going. And I'm down to 80 oxygen and no tanks. So yeah, we got seaweed down here. This is a good sign. And I quickly come back because moving around sucks up a lot of oxygen. And the construction speed is incredibly slow. Take care of a little bit of resource management while I'm waiting. Water's good to drop your temperature if you start getting hot. So yeah, that one hit off that oxygen tank only got me up to 72. And I got like 110 seconds to wait for the next one. So essentially, I'm burning up power in that emergency O2 canister, and I am only getting enough to keep me alive to stand there, which isn't gonna cut it. So yeah, it's kind of a hurry up and wait and trying to watch a pot boil while I'm running out of air. Okay, first one's done. Plop it down, put a power pack in it. It's good for half an hour. Just short of. So, anyways, that gets you the idea of what's kind of going on. And then got a second one going up. I use a power pack for it. But we'll get on to what the rest of I was doing. So now I'm starting to explore the bottom now that I've got enough oxygen tanks to move away. And I don't know if everybody knows it or not, but that's a shoulder light, and then that's the flashlight. The flashlight is actually fairly useful, especially in the dark underwater. Probably would be on the surface too, except for I prefer to have a gun in hand. But down here, where there's, you're not in danger of getting eaten alive by anything. It's like you can see that pentaxid off in the distance, whereas with the shoulder light, you wouldn't have seen that. A lot of times with a shoulder light, you can't really see it until you're practically right on top of it. So, and you can still pick stuff with the flashlight out. So I think you'll see the difference here in another sec. And it's not a huge difference, but it's enough of a difference to make it kind of worthwhile. Just trying to stay along the edge of the lake there. I started to come across this, which I was very happy about. Oh, and almost had an oops. But fortunately, had oxygen on the toolbar, which is why I had it there. So here again, just trying to keep my movement down to a minimum, because even underwater, I try to use the drone as much as possible to conserve oxygen and fuel for food. So, and there was just a lot of this. And trying to get an idea how deep I was. So, I think I mentioned it before, but I played for like 13 hours to get to the point where I considered ready enough to be able to take on the first main mission. So I'll probably end up not posting most of that, because it's a lot of what you just saw. Wandering around the bottom, collecting stuff, collecting rocks, collecting pentaxid, collecting seaweed, using the seaweed for food, a little bit of it for biofuel for the drill, and exploring every square inch of this lake, trying to get to level 5 so that I could spawn in a HV that I had made. I probably spent 7 of those hours. Well, no, I spent 4 hours and 15 minutes of game time wandering around the lake floor, just collecting stuff and keeping my oxygen up. Fortunately, there was fair enough pentaxid here to make it possible to do. If there hadn't, I probably would have been screwed. So, I'm going to try and get this posted Monday night. I don't know if I'll make it or not. But I will definitely have it posted for sure by Tuesday morning. And I want to try and get another one posted Tuesday morning to kind of give just a kind of a progress report before I go off and do the radar station, which I'm going to go ultra safe on the radar station because this is hard mode, and the consequences of screwing up are pretty dire, especially if there's a shotgun Xerox. I hope there isn't, but if there is, those guys can one-shot us, and that would make for a very short season for me. So I would like to last beyond the first week, so I'm gonna go a little on a bit of the safe side, so it's probably only going to take me a few minutes. So, and I got pretty good at gauging how far out I could explore with the amount of tanks that I had. So, got stuff making up while we're gone. And starting to build up my surplus. So the next step, starting to look at, let's see, I think I'm starting to look at, I'm starting to look at which HV I'm going to do. I considered doing the minor one, but yeah, I opted against it because there's not really much in the way of mines up here. I ended up going with this Coyote Runner Mark 1 that I had done a while back. Fairly cheap to build. It's got a harvester, 2 turrets on it, minigun turrets. Pretty good for running around and killing stuff to get leveled up. So, anyways, we're gonna go with that, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.